Well, we're back now, and we hope to get another perspective on guns and this whole problem that the country is passing. With us this morning, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich and Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. Congresswoman Blackburn, but you actually like to be called Congressman, don't you?
Congress Marsha.
Congress Marsha.
You know, whatever works.
All right, well, you heard Dianne Feinstein.
Sure.
Ms. Blackburn, and you heard Ray Kelly. What's your take on this?
My take is, first of all, we need to make certain we keep children safe. And that's what we want to do. But I got to tell you, when I hear some of this conversation, I think that we're looking at symptoms, we're not looking at the root causes. And I've talked with a lot of teachers, classroom teachers, after the Sandy Hook situation, and they say, look, we need to be looking at mental health. We need to be looking at the root causes, some of these psychotropic drugs, and not let this be about the weapon, but let's talk about some of the root causes in these issues. And I understand the senator's passion for this, but I got to tell you, an assault ban is not the answer to helping keep people safe.
Do you think it's the answer, Speaker?
Well, as the New York commissioner said, the overwhelming problem for him is handguns. Not assault weapons are about 2%. But I also think the term assault weapon is propaganda. Any true military weapon is illegal, has been illegal since 1934. If somebody's using an AK-47, they're using an illegal weapon because it is an automatic weapon. We do not allow people to buy automatic weapons unless they have a very strict collector's license. And that's been true now for almost 80 years.
But these are rapid-fire weapons.
You pull the trigger
and
it fires a shot.
They're not machine guns, but they're rapid fire.
Every pistol does that. The person who killed the most people at Virginia Tech used 2 pistols. The fact is that every political attack from John F. Kennedy to the present has involved a weapon which would be legal under Senator Feinstein's law. I mean, pistols, you go to Chicago, the murder capital of the United States, and neither the House nor the Senate has gone and held hearings, but they ought to find out, how did over 500 people die last year? They weren't assault weapons. And I think that this is a serious question of where we ought to have the courage to look at facts, not create propaganda.
I agree with you, Ms. Blackburn, that I think that mental health needs to be a part of this. I think it's got to be a comprehensive plan of some sort. But I also wonder, I mean, don't we have to find some way just to reduce this access to guns that some of these people have? I mean, you know, if the guy had walked into the Connecticut school with a baseball bat, he could have put some bumps on a couple of people's heads, but I don't think that many people would have been
Well,
killed.
you know, I think that there again, you look at the safety issues. Some of the school districts in my congressional district are looking at resource officers and how they secure that environment. But, you know, the Speaker is right. You look at what is actually causing the problem. This means you look at the weapons that are there. You do some hearings that are on that have occurred in some of these areas like Chicago where they have a problem. You look at the mental health issues. You look at the psychotropic and psychiatric drugs that a lot of the youth are taking, that individuals that have committed these crimes are taking. You look at the violence that is there in entertainment and video games, and don't just go say we're going to do an assault weapons ban and that's going to solve the problem, because it is not going to get to the root of the problem.
How do the two of you feel about background checks? Do you think that would be helpful?
Well, we have background checks now. I think there are a substantial number of felons who have actually applied to buy a gun. The Obama administration, to the best of my knowledge, has prosecuted virtually none of them.
But there are no background checks at gun shows, right?
But let's start with what I just said. Well, we already have a background check if you go to a regular gun dealer. A gun dealer who's at a gun show, in fact, does a background check.
That's right.
If he's an authorized dealer. All of those folks already fill out the paperwork. It goes to the federal government. And I think there's something, don't hold me to this, but I think there are 70,000 cases of people who are convicted felons trying to buy a gun who were turned down. It's illegal to apply to buy a gun if you're a convicted felon. I think this administration has prosecuted virtually none of them. So they already have the data. They're not doing anything with it. What I'm fascinated with is there's a perennial desire to make the innocent have a more complicated life because of a handful who are the guilty, rather than focusing on the guilty.
But you still have, at the end of the day, you have these awful things that happened, and they happen over and over. They seem to happen more and more. Aren't we going to have to find out, and aren't we going to have to get serious about doing something about this?
Well, absolutely. You do, because you want to make certain that people are safe in public places. You want to make certain that children are safe at school. But, Bob, I've got to tell you, doing a so-called assault weapons ban is going after a symptom. And as teachers have said to me, don't focus on whatever is the weapon. Get to the root cause. Look at some of these mental health issues. Look at some of these drugs that are involved in this. Look at some of the violence that is permeating this society. Teachers, parents are all saying, you know, you need to drill down on this a little deeper, be a little bit more thoughtful on it. And you know, I'm with the Speaker. Why should law-abiding citizens be compromised because you've got some bad actors over here that are not complying?
I think it would be very compelling. There are a finite number of mass murderers in the last 25 years. A series of hearings that started with actually evaluating these people. Who are they? You know, I just sat through a wonderful report by the author of Rawhide Down, in which he talked about Reagan being shot by a .22 pistol, by the way. The reason Hinckley shot him is he wanted to get Jodie Foster's attention. Now, I mean, you look at these kind of things, and the guy who killed people tragically in Newtown was using his mother's guns, so the background check wouldn't have done any good. The young man in New Mexico who killed his family tragically had actually been given the guns by his father to protect the family. I mean, I think we have to look at what's really going on and not just rush into a 20-year-old idea that didn't work. By the way, gun murders have gone down since the assault weapons ban ended. There are fewer gun murders today with the ban having ended.
I'm going to ask both of you to stick around because I want to talk to you about the Republican Party and how it's trying to rethink what it is and where it goes from here. But we'll do that on page 2. I'm going to be back with more from our guests on Face the Nation. And in a moment, I'll have some thoughts on women in the military.
This portion of Face the Nation is sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service. Schedule your free package pickup today.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We're here with former Speaker Newt Gingrich and Representative Marsha Blackburn of the great state of Tennessee. And I want to talk to you all because this is a week that you really saw Republicans start to say, who are we and what did we do wrong the last time out? Haley Barbour says we should have won the presidential election, and you had different people had different things to say, and I thought one of the more interesting was Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana. Boy, he laid it out on the line. So let's just listen to what Mr. Jindal had to say.
We've got to stop being the stupid party. It's no secret we had a number of Republicans that damaged the brand this year with offensive and bizarre comments. I'm here to say we've had enough of that.
So there you go. Newt Gingrich, you ran and tried to get the nomination to run for president. Bobby Jindal's got a point, though, doesn't he?
You know, it's ironic. In 1976, Irving Kristol wrote an essay for the Wall Street Journal entitled The Stupid Party, which I commend to every Republican. And he also wrote one called The Future of the Republican Party. Ronald Reagan came along with Jack Kemp, and they basically moved us back towards being an idea-oriented party. I think we clearly have to change. I don't agree. I mean, maybe we could have won or not won this year. I was certainly wrong. I thought we would win up until about 5:30 Election Day when we began seeing exit polls. But when I wrote a paper recently, which is at gingrichproductions.com, which outlines 23 different areas Republicans ought to look at. When you lose Latinos by 71%, you lose Asian Americans by 74%. You lose people under 30. You lose single women. I mean, you go down the list. We have not won a majority, except for 2004 with an incumbent. We have not won a majority since 1988.
You know, I mean, nobody in any party can be responsible for what anyone is going to say, but there were some Republicans that really, for one thing, turned young women off with their comments on right to choose and all of that. Ms. Blackburn, what
Well, you're exactly right. There were. And I think that one of the things that we as a party have to do, and I think Bobby was right on track. The governor really laid it out. Reince Priebus laid it out. What we need to do is get rid of grand old party. We are the great opportunity party. We're the growth and opportunity party. We are the government of the people party. And that needs to be the point of view and the perspective that we come from and that we carry our message forth. You were just talking about women in the military, women in the workplace. What they want to know is that they are going to be treated equally under the law and that they're going to have great opportunities. And we are the party that stands for freedom, free people, free markets, faith, family, freedom, hope, and opportunity for each and every person in this country. And that is a great message. And that is what our focus ought to be.
Newt Gingrich, I'm going to call back a statement from the past because well, I'll be interested to what you have to say about this. But back there a while ago, they were talking about women in the military, and you said there might be some problems with it. You were talking to a group of college students, and here's what you said.
If combat means living in a ditch, females have biological problems staying in a ditch for 30 days because they get infections.
Have you evolved on that as some politicians say?
I don't know evolved. First of all, I think we've all learned a lot more. And the first thing I said when somebody talked about allowing women in combat is, women have been in combat for at least the last 20 years because if you're serving in the American military and you're in Iraq or you're in Afghanistan, you're in combat. Women in the State Department are in combat. Women in the intelligence service are in combat. Look at Benghazi. So I think part of it is, and you do have to make different arrangements under different circumstances, but I do think the fact is that anyone who is going to serve the country is going to be at risk, and it is a lot better to have them combat trained when they're at risk than it is to have them be helpless.
So well, you would now favor...
I think we've had 20 years of experience. We've had 20 years of experience, and objectively, they are in combat already. This is simply recognizing a reality that exists.
Well, what we have is women who have performed admirably in combat. And what Panetta is trying to do is to get rid of some of these artificial barriers and say go away with those. Because when you look at how the units deploy now and the technology, you have many IT specialists that are female, medics that are female, and they are already deploying with these units. Fort Campbell, which is there in my district, the 160th Special Operations Forces, you have women that are performing necessary skills. I think you're going to see more qualified women. I'm looking forward to seeing women break these barriers, serve as mentors, and bring younger women through the ranks in this process.
What do you think? What do you say? What is the one thing that? What's the worst thing, or the thing that the Republicans did wrong last time out, Ms. Blackburn?
I think that the thing that we did not do well was to penetrate the marketplace with our message. We didn't have a broad enough basis using social media, using all the different media formats that are there. People, the network of you is how people get their message now, their media. They are pulling together different sources via the internet, electronic media, TV, print, and we need to utilize each and every one of those and realize that at the grassroots, there's an army of people out there that are ready to be the happy warriors in this fight and get the job done because they're committed to freedom.
What would you say?
I'd say Republicans had better listen very carefully to Marco Rubio. When I said as a candidate, we're not going to deport grandmother if she's been here 25 years, and we have a nominee who said yes we would, that she would self-deport, I think at that point we lost Asians, we lost Latinos. You can't lose Asians, Latinos, African Americans, and young people and think you're going to be competitive. So I think we have to come to grips with reality. I agree exactly with Marcia. We have to learn to communicate in the world of young people on their terms, but we also have to understand that we need to be a country of immigrants where Republicans are seen as welcoming, hardworking, competent people, not prepared to kick grandmother out.
All right. Well, thank you all both for being here. We're going to continue this conversation when we'll bring in some other folks from the Romney and the Obama campaigns and a couple of Washington's smartest analysts. We'll be back in a minute.